Hey there, everyone. This is a special edition of BizTip Tuesday. So for those of you who are joining me live inside of YouTube channel, we're going to get started in just a few minutes. I just wanted to come in early so we could start promptly at 6:45 because that's what we like to do. So please get comfortable. I'm going to put a link into the comments so that those of you who are on the YouTube channel, you can get access to your book. Also know that we have inside of the Facebook group under the guides and under today's features, uh, pin up in our group, you also will have access to the today's planner. So please go ahead and get yourselves comfortable with respect to that. Of course, get your goodies, and of most important, always have your biz journal available as well. And then we are going to get started momentarily. So for those of you who are inside of my YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and pop this link inside here to go to Google, and this is where you're going to be able to find your planner for tonight. It will be kind of like a workbook and a guide. Hey, Elise, how are you? Okay, you want to go into, okay, I'll take care of you as well. So let me go ahead and just put the link in here for you. There you go. You can download the planner so you have access to that. So thank you for joining. And I'm also going to just double check over in Facebook land, and we will, like I said, for those of you, if you are inside of the community already, know that you should just simply go into the group. Up at the features, up at the top, you will see a link to today's handout, and that's what you'll be able to utilize. So please make sure that you tap into that as well. And that will stay there for the duration of tonight's session. I'm going to just double check here as well. Just give me 1 second. Leave. We went ahead and made that post up there. So you should see a link. And it's also under the guides. So if you click under guides, you will see tonight's workbook there available as well. So good for you on that. Now, this is a very, like I want to call it, relaxed with no pressure. This is all about just getting some good information to you so that you can make some decisions and make some actions and be actionable in your work. So that's today's goal, if you would. So I'm going to also just make sure one other thing, and then we are going to go ahead and get started. All right. I want to make sure I've got one other thing going. We're going a little that's what I want to make sure. My microphone. So okay, everybody can hear me okay? Give me an emoji in the comments if you're able to hear me fine, and then we are going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to make sure to. There we go. All righty. Good evening and good afternoon and good morning, depending on where you are today. I'm happy to have you all there. Hey, Kathy, great to have you here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So typically on Tuesdays, inside of the Content Creation Tips and More Facebook group, as well as on my live feed, I typically come in and I'm hosting our Biz Tip Tuesdays. But today is a little special, and you're going to see more of this as we move forward. But this is a working webinar, if you would. So the goal here is to add value. It is also to give you tools, resources, and most importantly, takeaways. Things that you're going to be able to put into practice to help you move your needle. And that is what today's session is all about. So for those of you who don't know who I am Yamilet Williams, aka Dr. Yam, and I am the host of Content Creation Tips and More, and I am the Keep It Simple coach to aspiring and new solopreneurs, freelancers, coaches, and small business teams who want to learn and grow using content marketing strategies and resources that can help you to do that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to use a slide deck today. I know that's a little odd coming that I don't use it too often. But given the nature of the work, I feel it's important that I make sure that you get as much useful information. Also, you'll have this as a resource to go back to as we, after we end today, you'll be able to have a link to this as well and utilize the workbook guide. So if everyone has their guide in place and anyone who's a latecomer, you're good to go. Remember, those of you who stay at the end will be able to get your name into our wheel. Let me see if I can get my wheel to go here. Hold on. Okay, so we have our winner's wheel, and so we'll be putting people's names into the winner wheel, and we'll do spins, and you'll have, I'm going to give away at least one, maybe two prizes, but it's always fun to have that as well. So that's our winner's wheel of fame. So you'll see that in a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing. All righty. So we'll stop sharing on that, and we're going to go ahead and okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and I'll add up my slide deck here, and we're going to get started. All righty. All right. So today's session is focused on how you can create a quarterly, doesn't have to be quarterly, but I'm going to aim for quarterly content marketing plan. Why is this important? And then also what I use is kind of like the 8 steps that I walk my clients through, as well as myself, is just the building blocks and how is it that you can have a plan that's going to help you to get the content out there that's going to make a difference in how you're making connections and then how you're having the web presence that you want for your business and for yourselves. All right. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I am Yamilet Williams, aka Dr. Yam. I am a business and also have really 2 businesses. I have a entrepreneurial coaching service where again we do content marketing, coaching and support, as well as I run a K-12 consulting firm, which is supporting school achievement. And I have a team of individuals that go out and do that work. So I have 2 loves. So you can have more than one business. So just know that you don't have to decide like your kids, like, love one child more than another. So I have 2 businesses and I love them both. So that's how I roll. Anyway, so but do know that you can always reach out to me. I'll give you some contact information as well outside of the Facebook group and in the YouTube channel. You can reach me by email, by Instagram, by Messenger, whatever floats your boat, if you would. So that's that. So here's the golden rule, if you would. And the golden rule is simply that the more consistent you are, the easier it is to reach your business goals. Makes sense, right? So it's all about how are we showing up every day for our business. And in this particular case, the focus is how are you showing up every day with a plan that helps you to execute how you, and even maybe better, how is it that you're using your time efficiently and that you're creating content and then you're getting that content out there in an effective way. And that's what's going to be important for you. This is not magic. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to make $1 million at the end of the, none of that. That's not what I do. I keep it simple and I also keep it real. Running a business is difficult. It can be, doesn't have to be hard, but when you put the right processes and systems and have some tools in place to help you to make it go easier, that is how you can be an effective solopreneur, freelancer, or coach. So also, before we get started, share, if you would, inside of the comments, who you are, what you do, and type of business that you have. You can even share a link to your business if you'd like. I have no problem with that. We're all here to help each other to grow. And also, you never know who you're going to meet at the same time. So feel free to share your business information in the comments as a part of today's session. Okay? All right. Now, creating a funnel that turns visitors into buyers is one of the great benefits of having a content marketing plan. And so there are actually 10 benefits, but I focus on number 6 because, like everything else, when you have a plan, you can make progress. And that is what we are going to be focusing mostly on today. And that is the power of a content plan, is that you can have a strategy that's going to help you to kind of envision the path that you see your customers taking to get them closer to where you're wanting to take them. That's the essential part of it. So you may have heard of sales funnels in the past, and you'll hear a lot more about them as we move through um, uh, future coaching sessions and in upcoming events that I take my community members through. But do know that you want to be able to create a journey for your intended audience, the people who don't know you yet, as well as the people who you have um, embarked on a relationship with. But then how is it that you're going to be able to keep them as a customer at the same time and be able to grow your list as well? All righty. Now, with that being said, that path is what we call a value ladder. So I want you to kind of almost think of it like we use this term a lot in education. It's called backwards by design. You start with the end in mind, and then you work your way backwards. When we do lesson planning for students, we think, well, what is the learning objective? What do we want you to know and be able to do after we've taught a lesson, right? And so the same thing kind of applies from a marketing perspective. Where are you trying to, what are you trying to solve? What problem, because that's what we're all in business for. What problem are we solving for our intended audience, right? What's the big picture, the big solution? And then from there, how can we work backwards so that we can take them through that ladder of experiences, right? Like in today's session, like a webinar in and of itself is part of a value ladder. Okay, so I'm almost like modeling what you can do as well. So I want you to think about, what is your core product or service? Like, what's the big one, right? What is it like if everybody could buy the one thing from you, like your big ticket item, we like to call it, like, what is it? What do you want people to know and be able to do in the problem that you're solving? Okay, what is that? And that is how, through a content marketing plan, we're going to be able to move people through a ladder, but you got to have content in order to do that. All right. So in your planner, I think my screen's going to let me show another document right now. Give me 1 second. Let me see something right quick. I won't be able to show another screen without losing the other one. Give me 1 second. I think, no. Okay, let me see one other thing. Okay, yeah, that was there. Okay, let me see if I can, yeah, I think I can bring it up. Okay, so in your planner, you'll be able to, I'm going to have talking points, and I'll be hitting on all the items that are inside of your planner itself. So let me see if I can share my screen real quick, just so we're all looking at the right things. Give me 1 second. Here it is. I think it's coming up. When I'm streaming live, sometimes it's a little slow, so you have to bear with me. Let me stop sharing, and maybe it'll let me do that. There we go. Here it is. Okay, I think I can do that now. All right, now let me bring myself back over. There we go. All right, now I think we're good. Let me just make sure. Okay, so here is the planner that each one of you should have. Let me present that real quick. Okay, so here's your planner. It should have a cover that looks something like this. Okay, and throughout our time together, shouldn't be more than an hour. That's my goal. I'm going to walk you through the planning components so that you have a good overview. Okay, and then you can circle back and then work through the planner. Okay, so this is kind of what we call front loading. So each one of you should have a planner, and you're going to have different components here of working out workbook items here for you to work in and create and complete. Okay, so let's talk about deciding on your promotions. Now, the cool thing about um, your value ladder, if you would, is that it's all in deciding about, again, that big ticket item, and then how is it that you want to plan for the promotions that's going to ease people down that path, right? So I want you to think about like planning your offers. How many, I don't care if you only have one product. If you have one product, we can break down that one product and you can still be able to take people through, or at least you have to decide where does that product kind of find itself in the sales funnel, and then how do you need to maybe build some other content so that you have an ability to create that sales journey for your intended audience. Okay, so I want you to look at this particular slide. And the first thing when you're creating a quarterly calendar, and I guess I need to answer the question, why a quarterly calendar? It's always always feel like doing things in threes is always good. But more importantly, it gives you enough of a window and a buffer, and that you're not feeling like you're just doing the work. You give yourself a big enough window of time, particularly for those of you. I know Elise uh, is in the travel industry, and so she has seasons. There are certain things that you're going to sell more in one time of the year than you are other times of the year, right? So seasons are going to be maybe important to you versus maybe not so much so. So again, when you can do it in bigger chunks, it also gives you a nicer flow. And again, we're building on things, and maybe even in cycles. You may be doing your promotions in 3-month cycles, and you're going to then rinse and repeat, and that's fine. In fact, that's a very effective way for you to uh, draw and create a sales journey for your individuals, because then you're kind of creating and building your list in batches, if you would. So there's something to be said with that. So when you're planning your offer, so here are the image that you see here. You want to write out your offers in succession, right? You don't want to like sell a how do I want to call it? You don't want to sell something ahead of something else, right? These are building blocks. So what would make sense to do a promotion in? So we're going to talk about it in the context of the second quarter. So second quarter is going to be April, May, and June. Okay, so that's the hat we're going to be operating on: April, May, and June. Okay, so again, and if you're looking at a 3-month window and your promotions and your cycles, if we're going to do it that way, then what are you aiming for to have done by June? And where are you wanting to take people down in this path of promotions over the course of 3 months? So the image that you see on my screen is an example of, again, we work from the bottom up. So in this particular case, my content in my funnel, if you would, starts with blog. I write a blog, I write articles, right? And then in those blogs, then I'm sharing my blog through social posts. And then those that all might be on a particular topic. So in this particular case, we'll keep it in the context of content planning. So I have a blog on content planning. I'm doing social media posts on content planning. I have a content planner. Then I have a content marketing workshop. And then I might invite those same people to a Let's Get Busy mastermind. And then the ultimate goal, the big ticket item, could be a membership. So that is the visual I'd like for you all to kind of think about. How can you decide about the types of promotions? What are you planning to offer at the bottom, and then building your way up? And this is kind of also, I want you to feel free to know that this is like brain dumping. So there's no one way to do a content marketing plan. This is not the way. This is a way. This is some steps for you to take and really just give some real thought and be intentional about what it is that you're doing and how is it that you're taking your day-to-day work. And it should be focused around this work to aim towards what you're looking to do, accomplish in the end. Now, you're also keep in mind your offers, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but your offers do not solely have to be from you. That's the other great thing about being in business. You have partners, you can do affiliate marketing, you may have a partner and they're doing something and you can kind of cross promote to each other, right? So don't feel like all the weight has to rest on your shoulders. And that's the other good thing about knowing things enough ahead of time, right? Because you might know someone, say, well, I know that she does her promotions maybe in September. She does a series of events in September. So how do you want to capitalize on that one during that season and time? So being proactive, those are the things you want to kind of keep in mind. And again, affiliate marketing is going to be another option for you that you may want to also think about. For instance, I do affiliate marketing for a lot of my tools, right? So when you go to my website, in particular, one is QuickBooks, right? So I'm a QuickBook ambassador. So one of the things that I like to always offer to my clients is you need to have your books in order, right? And so I will offer them a link to QuickBooks so that they can subscribe, and then I get a little some on the side for giving the referral, if you would. So you may even put in place a referral program as well. So those are the types of things that you can incorporate into the types of things that you can plan to offer. All right. So, which of your service or your product do you want to promote for the coming quarter or the month? Write those down. What would be some of the things that you feel you could be or should be, depending again if you're in a box of seasons. Remember, we're going from April, May, and June. So, what would be some offers that you may think about promoting in April? There are holidays in April that might affect what you may be able to offer and or promote, right? There may be something that's industry driven as well that you may want to take about. So, what would those products and service do you want to be able to promote in that quarter, that 3-month window? And just jot them down. Let's see if I can share my screen back. Yeah, I think I can. Let me see if I'm going to try to. So in your workbook, see if I can switch back over. So in your workbook, again, which will be the things you want to do for the quarter? What are the products and services you like to promote in that quarter that may be an affiliate marketing one? If so, what are those? Are there some themes that you like to focus on for the upcoming quarter? You may want to decide that, it's the spring theme, right? So what would you like to do that's very spring related and put a spin on it from that perspective? And then are there any seasons that are coming up in this next, in that 3-month window as we're thinking about April, May, and June? And then how might that impact your sales? What could you capitalize on? That's another one. Let me see if, hold on one second. Okay. So think about your decisions when it comes to your promotions from the big window. Just do your brain dump. Okay. Now, when we think about, okay, go back to our slide. The next thing is, like I said, try a theme. Is there some theme that you want to do? A spring theme? There's an idea for that. You could also think about again, seasons. We're going into the spring season, or might be some like wedding season for some people. I have a client, and she is a massage therapist and a body contouring specialist, right? So this is the prime time for people to be working on their bodies for summer, for the bikini weather, right? You don't wait until June. You prime people up to get to the June, right? So that's how you can kind of imagine what are the ways that you should be thinking ahead about your content and how you could be planning that out. Now, the other safe thing is always know, plan in pencil. Things come up, things change. You have to be flexible when it comes to marketing. An opportunity may arise, and you could afford to take advantage of it. Give yourself permission to be able to do that as well. So, are there any seasons that are coming up that you might want that's going to impact your sales? I'm going to put that to the group in the comments. Share with me. Are there anything as it relates to your business? So here, Kathy, you are a lifestyle blogger with racing aspect. Well, they just had one of the race. I happen to live right outside of Daytona. So so I'm right next to the speed track, right? So in that case, getting that type of content and knowing that there are types of races, and then how is it that you can market maybe resource tools, recipes, anything, whatever your style is as a blogger, right? Those are the things that you could be taking advantage of, and how your seasons, right? Because there's so many races, so many things that take place over the course of the year that you could be highlighting on each one, and maybe even connecting with someone like a travel agent who can help people get to those destinations as well. So there's different opportunities. So if seasons can affect and impact your sales, let me know what that would be for you. You can put those in the comments as well. Okay. The next thing to do is to think about is consider your channels, and I'm not talking HBO or or Showtime. In this case, we're talking about your channels for social media and other types of venues. How are you using the information to convey the content and your message so it's getting in front of the right people? So, choosing your channels is going to be your next step. When you're thinking about that, one of your channels is going to be social media. Now, there are 3 criteria in choosing the best platforms that it happens to do with your business. Not every platform is conducive for every business, right? Not everybody's you're not going to be hanging out on Twitter necessarily for your business if that's not where your customers are. Versus, although lots of bloggers are on Twitter. So if you're not, Kathy, as an example, if you're not on Twitter, that's another venue, because they do a lot of exchanging and tweeting of each other's posts and things like that, and giving everybody each other support. So that might be a place to hang out. Now, that's maybe for support, maybe not so much for your customers. So you have to kind of know the difference, right? But there are ways in which you want to think about choosing your social media. So here's a couple things to keep in mind in the criterias. The first thing to keep in mind is choose your platform where your customers and your audience are going to be hanging out. There's no point in putting out social media if that's not where your people are, right? So you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. What social media platforms do they hang out on? Do they like using? Why do they like using those particular social media platforms? And then how do they prefer to receive information? You're always trying to cater to your intended audience. So you always kind of want to keep that in mind. And it's okay. We also have like what we call sweet spots. So you do have that. The other thing to think about in your 3-part criteria is choosing a platform that is going to be specific to your content type. right? So if you are more of a writer and not want to be on the camera as much, then certainly Instagram may not be the thing for you, or at least it won't be for live. You like to do things more static. But I want to push you to say go for some live. And there's different ways that you can do that, right? And then the other thing is limit the number of social media platforms that you choose to be on. You can't be everywhere at every. I mean, you can, but be more intentional. I like to use that word, and specific about, and so that you can get really good content out there, and that you're not trying to straddle too many seats at the same time. Now, you can certainly use a tool that's going to be able to publish and post out to multiple platforms. And you can do that. But I'm saying that your time and your effort focus on two really good ones and get really good content on that so that you can get the traffic that you want. Okay. Now, just a little bit of quick data. You're going to have platforms like Facebook, right? Very popular. It's not the newest and coolest, right? But it does have a consistent following, and people are on there on a routine basis. They're checking in on like maybe 2 and 3 times a day. People are checking on their Facebook. So if that's the case, you have a better chance of being seen on a Facebook page. And again, when you compare that to some of the other platforms in people's frequency levels, there's a difference there. So that, again, kind of gives you a sense for where should you be hanging out. And then age is going to play a factor, right? I think that this, it kind of always happens. As soon as the older people find out what the younger people are on, then the younger people go find someplace else to hang out. But again, who is your intended audience? Because if you're looking at it from a Facebook perspective, your tweens are and high schoolers are a little bit less population, but it's probably not who you're trying to attract, right? So you just have to kind of know age does have a factor. And if it does, if that's who your customers are, if you are focusing in on, middle age or retirees, what is that ideal kind of avatar, we like to call it, that you want to be able to be focusing and sending your message to? Instagram is another platform, very visual. It is targeted for young demographics as well. There's a lot that's going on in Instagram with video content and streaming and all of that. And then people will make purchases from Instagram. And that's also a great place to get your message across. So there's a great opportunity for that. Again, depending on what your solution is and what it is that you're trying to offer to people. Again, from a promotion standpoint, you want to be able to give people a taste and bring them down your ladder of your journey of your sales ladder and your sales journey. And again, your demographics, this is shifting on a routine basis, but again, kind of gives you a sense for age, gender, location. Does that make a difference? Does geographics make a difference for you? Maybe, maybe not. Does income bracket have an effect on who you're trying to pitch to? Right? Yes. Good. Does education matter? If so, then your language, the word choices, and your in how what we call your it's not lexiles, but the maturity level of your word language will connect with certain readers versus others. So that's where we talk about education that could fall in line with it, right? So your word choices and things like that. Are you low key, simple words, or more advanced words because you're speaking to a more advanced collegial customer, if you would? Those would make a difference. And then there's LinkedIn. Are your customers sitting out there? Again, LinkedIn is kind of like the business version of Facebook, right? In the sense that most people are there to connect for B2B. Okay. And so more middle working age, if you would, are, as you can see, people who are retired are not hanging out on LinkedIn because they're not trying to get a job, or they're not trying to connect with other people and selling their pitching their stuff. I get pitching and invitations to connect with other people all day long. But in most cases, it's it's people who want to pitch their services to me, and also, and I get headhunters and stuff all day long. So there's that. But could this be a space where you would take advantage of? Then there's Twitter. Now, the great thing for me, I think, about Twitter is it's a channel that is real-time social media, if you would. People are conversing on a routine basis. They're text messaging, if you would, out to the world. But however, there's a little bit of a twist in the sense that you have to be very artful, if you would, because you have a text character restriction. So how can you send out a great message on a routine basis, get people to follow you or even to retweet or share your content enough with other people? And a lot of that is the power of that also comes with hashtagging as well. So this is a little bit old data. I got to change this out. But again, it's been growing over time and people are on there to communicate and to engage. So this might be another place. Again, notice the age difference. We're still in that kind of sweet spot between the 18 and 50. And again, you can create your social posts to get out there and make the connections as well, and be able to get connected through those different search engines as well, because that's what the hashtags are for. Your hashtags are like mini search engine tagging capabilities, so people will look for your type of feeling, what topic that you're talking about, and that they'll be able to connect back with you. I'm making you feel old. We're all older. I'm not going to say you're old, but you're older. However, you do want to make sure that, again, that's not to say you can't be out on TikTok, okay? Because again, there's again a strategy and a method in hanging out and connecting on TikTok if that's where you feel your customers are. Same thing with Pinterest. Is going to be the same thing. Pinterest, the great thing here that a lot of people miss about Pinterest is that Pinterest is a search engine, just like YouTube is a search engine. Facebook, Twitter, not search engines. So you will have a better way of connecting and being found on the internet through your search engine optimization because of those keywords and your tags in matters such as Pinterest and YouTube, not so much on Facebook and Twitter. So keep that in mind as to, again, where am I going to spend my time? And then there's YouTube, another resource that some people, it is a search engine. It is a video search engine, but it's a great social media platform with a strategy behind it. You're going to hear more from one of my video coach, if you would, Lou Bartone. And so he's going to be sharing some things coming up in one of our upcoming seasons with how using video content and being able to embark on that. So do stay tuned for that. So again, YouTube is a place if you to share your live feed. Like right now, I'm feeding live from my home, but I'm able to stream live in multiple places given the tools that I have. But it's also, and YouTube is growing quite a bit as well with being able now to do shorts as well. So there's great strategies that are out there that you may be able to get some good connections with as well. And again, people go to YouTube for lots of reasons. Some of them is not just so I can find out how to fix my dishwasher, but I can, when you search for things, you're going to find that YouTube even comes up through Google because it is a Google product. So that's why YouTube is a search engine through video content. So that's how that overlap kind of comes into play. Now, another channel, okay, so we talked about social media. Another channel is newsletters and memos. And so this may be another place where it could be a great sweet spot. Now, I have bloggers here and I have travel agents here. I don't know if anybody else is on and they're just not texting. So I'm just going to use the audience that's here. And so maintaining the communication with your intended audience, and also the fact that you can repurpose that content, the content that you're using for your newsletters and your memo, you can put it out as a social post as well. There's nothing that's going to hurt with that, right? And get that going. But when people first connect with you, then you've got to be able to maintain that relationship. And you're going to do that with your email automation system, such as either like ActiveCampaign or MailerLite. But the goal here is that once they've opted in, remember when we think about, see if I go back to when we think about that funnel, when they opted in to either come to this webinar, or maybe they got a lead magnet from you, you then have the responsibility of maintaining that communication with them. And you're going to be able to do that through your newsletters and your memos. So that's what the now what is. What's the now what? You got to maintain it so you can keep them interested and then be able to introduce them to other needs. So your other channel is like in Kathy's case, you blog. Blogging is content. Blogging is going to show up when you do it right and with the right coding, which we call search engine optimization. You're going to be able to get found on the when people are looking up certain topics. So you've got to make sure that you just don't throw content out there. You've got to be very purposeful with what you're putting out and then how it's being put out, and it's of good quality. And when you put good quality out there, that's how you're going to be able to attract the people that you want to become your customers. You're not talking to any and everybody. You want to talk to that specific individual. And that in and of itself takes a little bit of time. Now, in addition to writing your own content on your own websites, I'm assuming everybody has a website. If you don't have a website, I need you to call me. We can have that conversation a little bit later. But and blogging counts as a website, by the way. Guest blogging is another vehicle, another channel for you that you can show up on someone else's website and write about a particular topic that is of interest to their readers, but it gets you in front of other people's audiences. And so guest blogging is a great strategy to get some additional exposure. So think about that. Even if you don't have your own blog, but you have a business website, you might just want to write a blog about a topic that, again, is a complement to the person who is. People are always looking for good guest bloggers because it helps their traffic on their website as well. So do keep that in mind. That is another channel for you to think about. I do have a Become a Better Blogger for Your Biz. It's a 30-day challenge. It's an email challenge. And if you're interested, I will pop a link into the chat after we're done, or I'll do it in a follow-up email because I don't think I have my link right now. I can't see it right now. But I'll drop that for you in a follow-up email so you'll see that momentarily. So if you've got one or you've been hemming and hawing and you don't know, this is a good way to kind of, just enhance it. There's always opportunities where you're going to be able to improve, right? Another option in your channels is a podcast. Now, you can either host a podcast or, better yet, you can be a guest on a podcast. You don't have, that's even better. So there's opportunities for you to, again, get in front of other people's audiences with your message, and you're educating and how you can inform other people and then share your offer, right, with them. So when we think about your channels and your promotional plan, these are the things I want you to be thinking about. What are these vehicles that I could be a part of that can be part of my plan? Maybe I'll write a blog post for someone. Maybe I'll try to get on, appear on X number of podcasts and X period, in this 3-month window. Those are some goals. And then how do you go about doing it for yourself? Make sense? One of the things that I've found through working with some of my clients is that you're missing out on that great opportunity to being a guest. So we will be hosting your first Podcast Matters Bootcamp. And it's just that really focusing on how you can prepare to be a podcast guest and be able to get your message and pieces out there. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming days. So look in here for that as well. Live streaming, I can't tell you, but I love it myself. And again, you do what works best for you, but just know that live streaming is another way for you to connect and to reach an audience and to invite people into your space. You can stream live straight from Facebook off of your phone. You don't need to be fancy, but it's another opportunity for you to make some connections when we think about your channels. These are the things that you want to be mindful of. Okay, so now that I've given you all of that, I want you to think about the channels I just chose, and I want you to share with me which one of the channels do you feel in the comments. Which one of the channels do you feel you would be which one's going to be the easiest for you and which one's going to kind of be what I call your stretch. Like which one of those is going to be your stretch out of all the channel options that I just shared with you? What's going to be the one that you like your kind of sweet spot? I'm good and I can keep doing it. And which one is going to be like my stretch? I'm like, I'm going to try that. I've thought about it, haven't done it yet. Put that in the chat. Okay. Now, keeping things going. The next thing I want you to think about is setting your schedule, your publishing schedule. So here's that consistency idea that I was talking about earlier. So having content is great. Okay, pushes to, okay, very good. Thank you guys. Having content is great, but it doesn't mean doo-doo, if you would, if it doesn't get published, right? So now that because you don't want to spend a lot of time, there's strategies on how you can optimize your content. That's for a lesson for a different day. But now you want to schedule a publishing schedule. So your consistency matters. You want to be able to focus on distributing to those different channels that we just spoke about, and that you can always be checking your analytics. So I don't want to say set it and forget it, but you certainly want to be consistent in how you want to be able to focus on those channels that you love and are good at and get good at it. It does take time. This is not magic that I'm proposing to you guys. It's just the work that you need to have, but you want to have some focus too. Remember, we're thinking about your promotion. Now we're thinking about what it is that you want to promote in this 3-month window. And then what are the vehicles in getting those promotions out there? So we talk about your channel. Now we're thinking about, okay, now that I've got my channels, I got to think about what is the publishing schedule going to look like to get that content out there in a timely fashion. Don't obsess too much over the format per se. Some of your schedule, if you would, some people are good at working on do their schedules just in Google Calendar. Some people like spreadsheets. Yeah, we do have one. I'll share a spreadsheet that you can personalize for yourself that can be a tool for you as well. But you do want to have a process, and how is it that you're managing and putting all of this content out there. And again, when you're thinking about your social posts or even your blogs for that matter, frequency, how frequent do you want to post? Some of the analytics, they change on a routine basis. So you want to be routine in your posts. Do you have to post every day? It's not necessary on all channels, but you do want to be consistent. So you pick a pattern or a schedule that's going to work for you, and then keep at it and do that work. Now, let me see. What kind of content would you be putting out there outside of social media? There are other ways in which you can produce content. And how do you come up with the ideas for the content? I think that's where a lot of people tend to struggle with. So I'm going to put here there's a couple of things. There's a great tool. I talked about this just the other day, and I'll reference the link in a little bit. But it's just a website. I'm going to populate it here. It's called Answer the Public. If you go to their site, I'm going to populate it there. Let me see. I'm going to bring it up on the screen real quick. And let me share that with you guys. Answer the Public is a great way for you to, here we go. It's a great way for you to find out what are people asking about. This is Neil Patel. He just bought it. He's just a phenomenal person. Another day, we'll talk about Neil. Anyway, so the great thing about this particular tool is you want to be kind of connected to what's trending and what your audience is talking or thinking about, right? So in the case of Kathy, right? If I typed in drag racing, was it drag racing or what do you call it racing? Let me make sure I say it right. Yeah, drag racing. Okay. So if I type in drag racing, right, in the United States, and I say search, what are people asking about that topic? And then it's going to do its little magic and do some searching. And it's going to be a little slow just because I'm live streaming and trying to search. So my computer's only but so fast. Okay. So there were 80 questions, right? That are showing here, but there are 383 results on that topic alone. Okay. So here it gives you a quick, people are asking question about like, is drag racing on Netflix? So there's maybe some show about drag racing. Then there's like, why drag race mean? What is the meaning of drag racing? Some of the stuff is show related. And then like, what is a drag racing car? So people are asking, remember, so what Ask the Public does is they go out and see what people are searching for on the search engines, and then they combine it and do an aggregate about information here. Great tool, right? So same thing here. You could type in any topic, find out what other people are asking about, and then you can craft social posts. You can help to educate people in your blog post or in your social post or in your or maybe even when you're doing a podcast as a guest. So that's kind of what that is. So just check that out when you get a chance. Answer the Public. All righty. Let's go back to our slide. The other thing as another tool is headline creators. So one of the things that when we're thinking about your blogs or even your social posts, you want to be able to generate a good connection with your reader. So there are tools that are out there that will help you to do just that. What we call title generators. So sometimes you don't have to think, just have to ask, but there's some really good title generators that are out there. And I'm going to send you all the resources in the follow-up email after today's session. But also look at your own archives. Look at what other people are saying in your comments and other people's posts on your posts and your topics. Those are the things you want to be able to tap. All right. Now you want to fill your schedule. So when we think about that, what we're saying here is you want to be able to, after you finish brainstorming, right? You've got a focus because you've said, okay, here's my big picture window for the next 3 months. Here's the promotions that I'd like to run in those 3 months. Now, what type of social posts will I do with respect to those promotions and options, right? And then how do you then plan that out? And then how do you fill in your offer schedule? In a sense, again, you want to be able to map out a good topic. You want to be able to tell people, to like maybe grab a list and then bring them down your funnel. So fill in your schedule for your offers. You need to space them accordingly. Otherwise, you don't want things to like get all too jumbled up. You want to some places work well with weekly promotions, and other things not so much so. So you have to do what works best for you. I tend to do things because of the way my sales funnel works. Is that mine is spanning over at least a 2 month window. That I'm doing certain events over a period of time to take people through the funnel, and then there's working in between that has to happen. So be mindful about your time and how you see getting this done, which we'll talk about just in a minute as far as getting it done. So you want to streamline that content. And at first, this might all sound like a lot that you're looking to having to do, and you might want to freak out, right? But you can easily feel a bit overwhelmed as you start to really think about, oh my goodness, I want to do this, but this is a lot of work. And yes, marketing in and of itself is work. It's not a magic bullet. So you've got to put a thought process behind it, right? But there are some ways that you can streamline this so that typically you can take a deep breath, you can think about everything that has to get done, and then we figure out the how. So, a couple of things that you want to think about are deadlines. Do you want to be the content writer, or do you want to get a content writer? Do you have existing content that you could be repurposing? I'm sure you already do and you don't even know it. You'd be surprised, right? Um, Make a checklist so that you are not missing anything, or just so that you again have a way of managing your time and what the task that you have to do it in. And then if you necessary, I know I use them a lot, so I am a proponent of it, and that is get yourself a virtual assistant. They don't have to be full time. You may have them to give them the work that you do not like to do. That's my point that I tell my clients. You want to give people do the work that you enjoy doing, so that you don't feel the level of frustration. Right. So come up with a schedule, determine your deadlines, and then based on the deadlines, what are the things that you can do and what are the things that you're going to give to somebody else to do? There's nothing wrong with that. It's called delegating. Now, how do you create more content even faster? So I always have to preface by saying you want to, where do you find virtual assistants? Good question, Miss Elise. And there's a couple of places. I'm going to put this one up here. Hold on, I'll give you a link. Give me 1 second. It depends on the task that you want. I've vetted some virtual assistants that I've used in the past. So depending on what your skill set is, everybody has their own kind of expertise, if you would. So you want to kind of go in making your wish list, like what are the skills and the resources I want this person to know and be able to do, right? It's no different than a full-time person that you would be hiring locally. You're just doing it on a virtual basis. But there are people who have the skill sets that can help to get that work done. Let me put you a little link there real quick. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna. Okay, here we go. Here's a link. So one of the places that I use a lot is Upwork, and there's a link there for them. Um, and the other one is, I think, let me see this. Depending again on what you're trying to accomplish, and if you want something short term or long term, because that also can make a difference. I do use people over on Fiverr for certain tasks. It just again kind of depends on what it is that you're looking for. But shoot me a text inside of the community and let's have that conversation. I can kind of get a better sense of. But those are at least some the places that they have an infrastructure already in place, so that you you don't pay for stuff until after the work is done and delivered and meets your satisfaction. So you have that to go by. There's also built-in review processes as well. So those are two reliable places that you can at least kind of a good place to start, if you would. And then the other thing to kind of know is, again, you can repurpose your content. And then the other nice thing is that power through the discomfort. I know that everything's not always going to be easy, but the great thing is when you know you have all this content that you want to create, then you're also able to, while you have a virtual assistant working on one thing, you could be working on something else. And then embrace the tools that you're going to need so that you can create the quality content that's going to be necessary. So let's go back to our workbook. I'm going to stop sharing that. Let's bring up our workbook. Alrighty. All right, so you're going to decide on your promotions. Once you've decided on your promotions, then you're going to consider the different channels. So in your workbook, you have choices. Am I going, what are those different channels, your channels? And it's also good that you have a collection of all of your resources and what you have so that when it's time to hand it off to a virtual assistant, you have all your information in one spot. But also assess for, again, how many followers and subscribers do you currently have? You want to be able to set goals. The whole point of moving towards this 3-month window is to see growth. And if you put the proper plan in place, then in your efforts, you should be able to see the numbers to change over time. Not magic numbers, but everything is all about your effort as well. Then we have, again, setting your schedule. Which distribution channels are your favorites? Think about that. Think about where you're seeing the most engagement right now on your social media platforms themselves. Start there. If you have any analytics that you can look at, check out the analytics on those different platforms. They offer lots of insights for you. And then which days of the week and the times are you going to be trying to put your content out there on a routine basis, that consistency that you're looking for? Do your commitment to that. And a lot of times we have nice tools that allow you to do that. I'm going to put this one, let me see if I can share. Here is our tool that we host, Social Balance. So Social Balance is our social media management platform. You can create, you can publish, you can monitor and do your comments, everything inside of there. We even we just added the AI tool. It's built inside of that too. So that gives you an extra hand in the content creation portions of it as well. So please check out social media and socialbalance.com. I'll also put it in our follow-up emails as well. So if you don't get it right away, I will have it in the follow-up email to you. Okay. Next thing you want to keep in mind, let me make this a little bigger. Your next step is what are some of the content ideas that you have? What are some things that you could be thinking about creating when it comes to content? So for instance, are you going to create posts? You're going to write articles? Are you going to be on podcasts? Are you going to write a blog post group? Or again, using the Answer the Public website, what are some subject matters and topics? Are there things that are going to be coming up in that 3-month window? Are there certain topics that are going to be kind of top of mind? There's even data that's out there that will tell you that these were the topics. I'm trying to remember the site. There's one tool that will tell you trends. I think it's trends. Trends. I think it's just trends.io. Let me double check. But you can get trend data. And trend data is really helpful because that will tell you, okay, well, what was trending in April, May, and June of last year, right? That can kind of give you a good sense of what will probably be very similar and just give you kind of a heads up. if you would. So kind of think about that. Let me just double check. I want to say it's trends. Oh, Google Trends. I knew it, couldn't have it in my head. Okay, I'm gonna put that link real quick. Google Trends. Trends.google.com. There it is. Trends.google.com. And there's where you're going to be able to find some useful, again, information about the type of content that you may want to be writing or talking or kind of connecting your expertise to as well. Okay, let's go back to the planner. And then fill your offer schedule. What will things look like now that you did your brain dump of the types of offers that you want to kind of put out there? Now you want to fill your offer schedule. So for instance, if the content idea is going to be knitting strategies for beginners, then the format is going to be, you saying it's going to be a video. And then what distribution channel you want to put that on? It's going to be a Facebook Live. Okay. And then what is the offer that's going to lead people to? So the offer that you're going to lead people to is Knitting Happens, lessons for new knitters. So this is going to be like a mini course. It could be something they could just simply download, but that's the flow, right? So everything should have a purpose when you're thinking about your content, and then how is it that you're going to be able to fill the offer schedule. So just map that. You don't have to do it certainly by the date in the order, but that's kind of at least your flow. What's your content idea? What format are you going to be creating this content in? Then what distribution channel are you putting it on? And then what is the offer going to lead your people to? Now, even if I just did that one thing as a video, right, I could repurpose that content at least 7 to 10 different ways. Okay. So I need you to take that worry level down a notch and just know and understand that you can keep it really simple. You don't have to do a lot if this is your first time at bat, right? Just know that you just need to have these thoughts and have a process that you want to carry out in place. That's all that this is really about. How can you get the work done? Next one is getting it done. So here's about streamlining your content creation. Which of these pieces do you have due dates assigned to? So once you have your promotions and you have the content, and kind of after you've done this list up here, the things that you need to have done, then you want to get specific with due dates. How do you time this all out so that it can work for you? Right? So you want to give some due dates. Then, are you going to be the writer of that content? Or do you need to find somebody who's going to be the writer of that content? Or one of the other topics I talked about the other week, so if you look inside of my live video feed, inside of the community, you'll see some prior videos. I just talked about private label rights. You may be able to use that content. It makes things easier and faster, right? When somebody's kind of giving you their permission to use their content, and then you can make some edits and tweaks and make it your own. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. And then what content do you have already that you could repurpose for this quarter? Maybe there's something that you did some time ago. Pull it back up. There might be something that you can fit inside of that window. And then what tasks are you going to be doing that's going to benefit from a checklist? Keep things in order as well as possible. And then what tasks can you outsource to a virtual assistant? Now, virtual assistants, by the way, just from a budgetary standpoint, because I don't want everybody to think you got to have a whole lot of money. You don't. But you do need to be very explicit and plan out ahead of time what you want to give an assistant to do. And I'll talk more about virtual assistants on another session. I think that's a topic that people need to totally understand. But are there things that you would rather hand off to somebody else to do because you don't like doing it? And that's okay. I don't do all my stuff. Okay. So that's just fine. Let me go back and check on our notes here. Okay. Any questions so far on that? All righty. Then the next thing in your plan, your steps is, how are there things that you can do to create the content a little bit faster? Again, when you have things on your calendar, you have to think about this work as these are money-making tasks, right? because this is about your promotions, and you're working backwards and trying to lead people through a sales funnel of sort. So where on your calendar are you putting this work each week? Do you set aside a day each week and I say, okay, I'm on Sundays between 2 and 4, I'm doing this, and knock it out? Then you have to think about what's your preference when it comes to your format for this content creation. Are you better at writing? Do you prefer doing things in video? Do you maybe like audio better? Love audio. That you can offer, you can put together a promotion and an audio and share that with people. And then which of the tools do you have to improve on your content creations, right? Do you have the tools? If not, what do you need? If you're going to do video, you can keep it as simple, like just using your cell phone, being outside, sitting on the camera. You can use this with a little and get a little holder, and you're done. If you want to be inside, and you might need to get a little light ring, but you don't need a sophisticated equipment. You just need like maybe a good microphone like this, still under $100, right? You don't have to have a full-blown studio. But what are the tools that you're going to need? And then last but not least, how will you reward yourself after you've created your content? I think it's important that we, give ourselves a pat on the back every now and then. It's important, okay? Especially if you're a solopreneur, right? You don't have somebody who's like, that was great. You have to say, that was great. That was a wonderful idea. Give yourself a pat on the back and then give yourself a little chocolate on the side if that's what it takes, okay? And then scheduling your content to complete freedom. So here again, you want to plan your scheduling of your sessions the same way you plan for your content. And again, do you need to give this to a virtual assistant to help you to schedule in your content? So what that means is that if you know you need to do, if you're going to go live, if you want to put this content out on a routine basis and all, and having your deadlines, how are you going to schedule this work? And what would a virtual assistant help you to do that work? And I bring up the checklist because when you give someone else work to do, you need to give them you have to give people either steps and directions on how you want this work done and when you want it done and completed before you even enter into it. You have to come in knowing what you want to have accomplished. So just kind of keep that in mind. So create your checklist of the final things to do before a piece of content can go out into the world, right? And there's a process for that. And then you can work on your new content plans. So sometimes you can be working on content and get a little stuck, and that's okay. That's why going out and picking on places like Answer the Public and working on one piece at a time. Maybe you get stuck on a piece. Maybe if you're waiting on some graphics to be done, you could be writing on something else. So that's the great thing about having a plan, and you have some pieces and parts that you could be working on kind of simultaneously and kind of keeping your pipeline going. Now, ideas for your contents to create. So I thought this would be helpful, and just so you can kind of get a sense for time tasking and what it kind of takes that you should kind of set your time aside for. So for instance, if you wanted to, for creating different types of content. So one piece of content could be a short report on a particular topic, like top 10 things, right, that solve a specific problem. Write a report or an opt-in page, and then you have your follow-up emails, right? So if you're going to write a report and it's going to use it for like a lead magnet, remember we talk about our funnel, right? So you have some researching, you have some writing, you have some formats, you have some graphics, and you have a setup, right? So a short report, if you just did nothing else, you can do that. You can knock that out in 2 days. That's all you were doing, right? Depending on your sweet spot. If you're going to host a webinar or a teleseminar of some sort, like you and somebody else, then it might only be a 30 to 60-minute webinar, but you've got scripting to do, slides to do, handouts to do, maybe a poll or discussion questions you want to have done. You want to have a registration page. You want to have a pre and a post email sequencing, right? Again, you got to do the research, the outlines, the scripts, everything. At best, it takes more than that to creation time, really. But if you're doing nothing but that, you could knock it out for a simple one, right? An email sequence series, again, on a particular topic, 250 words, 350 words in all, and sending that out over a series to your list, you can knock that out in a day and a half or so. Again, outlining it, writing it, and then scheduling it out. Workshops, now we're talking a little bit more, tooth, if you would. So here, you're talking, I do live workshops, so seminars and things. So usually you're doing either a 3-hour or a full day type of a workshop. And so there again, activities, handouts, your script, follow-up content, sales and marketing, all those things you need a good 2 weeks to 2 months, depending on what it is you're trying to accomplish and where. And if there's logistics is involved versus a live one that's going to be online versus on site. So you do be mindful. If you're going to be doing a podcast interview, those typically you want to be ready to have your message and address the different questions, because it is a marketing effort when you're podcasting, interviewing for someone as a guest, right? So it doesn't take as long, but you do want to be prepared. I think more time is spent on getting on the guest list and getting everything quiet and hoping somebody will say, yes, be my guest, right? If you want to put together video tutorials or, again, do some syndication type of articles, do your blog posts, those take time. Maybe you have a tip sheet that you could put together as a piece of content that you could use for a lead magnet or a checklist, right? Top things you need to prepare before you go on a trip to and do the different destinations, right? Because I think a checklist is going to be different for me to go into one destination than it is to another, right? So there's a lot of checklists that you could be putting out there as a lead magnet to bring people into your funnel as part of your promotions. Right? Because if you're running a promotions, I'm going to take Elise, for example, so she's in the travel industry. So if April, that the industry, right? Because some things are driven by industry. The industry is doing certain things in April, then I might want to do a checklist or a tip sheet that has to do with the types of destinations that are associated with the promotions, right? Backwards by design. Social posts, infographics. Infographics are just that, information in a graphical format that can be easily consumed. I love infographics. Those I send out a lot to Fiverr to do, because they're people who do that type of work and they can do it quite quickly, and they can produce something to my liking in short order. But those are just some of the ideas when it comes to creating your content that you can think about, as well as ebooks. Even quizzes are another great way for you to bring people to your site, answer a question. People love to take quizzes, by the way. And then you can use that information to bring them into your funnel. So there's lots of different ways that you have opportunities to connect with your intended audience. And by creating good content, it's going to allow you to get there. So that being said, that, my friends, is our special Biz Tip Tuesday, focusing on how you can create a content marketing plan, action plan. Right now that you know what you know, I hope that you found this information to be helpful. I'm going to here's some contact information. For instance, let me make sure. So if you're looking for a virtual assistant, check out this website. You can go to this link, and I'll put it in my follow-up email as well. Let me check out my comments here. Okay. Yeah. So you can check out Upworks is a great place for virtual assistants. Fiverr is another. If you want to explore the topic of private label rights content, then check out this link. You can just go to bit.ly/Dr. Yam PLR-me. That's a good place to start. Again, depending on your topics, lots of PLRs are out there. If you're looking for, if you don't have a social media management tool that is going to help you to kind of what I call create, plan, and post and publish all of your social media content in one space. So you're not having to sit there. It's like, oh, I got to go over to Twitter, create my post. And then you can't schedule on certain places directly on the platforms in advance. That's the great thing about a social media management tool, is that I can schedule way out in advance. I can schedule out to a year in advance if I wanted to. So check out socialbalance.co. That is our tool that we've put together for our clients and prospects like yourselves. So check them out. There's a 14-day free trial. And then we start plans as low as $17 a month. Okay. If you do not have a website created for your company just yet, check out contentlatte.co. That is my digital cafe for entrepreneurs. And there you can build your website, have an e-store, do your email automation. You can have your blog, everything all under one roof, and a CRM to boot. So you can check out that. And if you haven't already done so, please head on over to Content Creation Tips and More. That is the Facebook group that I host and I'm going through live today. You can just type in smallbizsociety.com and it will take you right there. And myself or Ron, my virtual assistant inside of the Facebook group, will help you to get onboarded and set you up for that. And then always know that you can visit us over at keepitsimplecoach.info. That is my website. And I'm happy to always connect with you anytime. You can also just direct message me inside of Facebook, or you can send me an email as well at Dr. Yam at keepitsimplecoach.info. So again, I want to thank everyone for making this a beautiful time together. I hope that you found the information as insightful as I intended it to be. Now that you kind of have some good ideas in your head, you now can work your magic and start to get good content out there with a plan. Until next time, this is Dr. Yam, your Keep It Simple coach. Let's get busy. Bye-bye.